Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's press conference, Connect Caribe Pleon Group Inc., the holding company for Connect Caribe. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Jennifer Highland, the Vice President of Corporate Communications and Marketing Strategic Partnerships for Pleon Group, and that's the holding company for Connect Caribe. Welcome to each of you. Thank you for joining us online, all the reporters and editors online. Thank you for joining us for this update on the developments relative to the current stage of Connect Caribe Ferry's initiative. We are honored to have our distinguished partners who are also joining us online a little later in the press conference. And again, we thank the local media for being here. Who will be giving remarks this morning is Ambassador Dr. Andre Thomas, the chairman of Pleon Group Inc., together with the CEO and Technical Director of the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, Dr. Patrick Antoine. And we will also have joining us the chairman of Jampur. He would be joining us a little later. At the end of the presentation, we will open for questions to the media, and we will also be engaging any persons here in the audience for questions. So without any further ado, I want to hand it over to our ambassador, Dr. Andre Thomas, who's going to address you. We also have to my far left our Vice President of Ship Operations and Crew Management, Mr. Richard Allen, also joined by the President of the E-commerce Division, Mr. Anthony Hinkson. So over to you, Ambassador Thomas.
Thank you, Jennifer, and to all our distinguished partners and to the press. We are excited that we have reached a milestone in the development and implementation of this project earlier than we anticipated. And the reason for that is that we have the two major partnerships that have turbocharged and accelerated the process of taking this maritime corridor initiative from concept to reality. The first would be our partnership with the CPSO, the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, whose data, guidance, and leadership in the implementation of this project has served to really accelerate us. Their understanding of the trade landscape, the commerce landscape, has been indispensable in guiding us in making strategic, logistical, and tactical decisions where this project is actually concerned. The second would be our partnership with our new partner, which is the Jampur Group. They are a very strong company operating out of the UAE, and they work across the continent of Africa, been worked for over 30 years, and have a fleet of ships. And we've entered into an agreement with them, and they will be providing our first set of ships, which are being acquired as we speak, and very soon would be on their way to the Caribbean waters. So the news that we have for you is that the decision making in terms of our business development, our roots, our understanding of how to integrate our cargo platform with our travel and our e-commerce platform, all that market information has been made available through our discussions with the CPSO, and that has been indispensable in accelerating that side of the business. And then on the other side, our partnership with Jampur who now are our shipping partner. So they are shipping partner, and what's great about them is that they have their own shipyard. They repair ships. So all the success conditions are required for such a venture um, have really been met. We have cargo partners, travel partners, e-commerce partners, and now we have a shipping partner with over 30 years experience in this particular field. And so we are very excited to announce this. And so this would accelerate our launch date. So our launch date was due to be in the month of November. This definitely will accelerate it a few months earlier. And the approach that we're taking is going to be slightly different, marked by our the consultations we've had with the CPSO and also with the Jampo Group. So we are going to begin with a lot more ships, um, but slightly smaller ships that would go to many more places. And we will begin with a very strong emphasis on the cargo element, with also travel, and then build towards having the two much larger cruise ships, which we're still actually working on, that would house over 1,000 people, approximately 800 to 1,000 people each, uh, in the second phase of acquisition. So in the first stage of acquisition, we're acquiring more ships because our intention was to have two cruise ships and one large cargo ship. That's changed. With our partnership with John Paul, we're going to have a lot more cargo ships, above five, six, seven. We're going to go above that. And so we are looking at having significant acquisition of multiple cargo ships uh, that will then enable us to serve the region so that you have cargo going both ways. So if we have cargo going from Barbados, Grenada, uh, Trinidad, St. Lucia, and going one way, we have another going the other way. So that's going to enable us to really accelerate and be able to cover all the Caribbean much faster. It obviously has to be phased, so it will be done in a phased approach, and the phasing will be data driven. It will be driven by the information and will go where the data tells us to go and where we have premium conditions at the port of destination. So those two things are part of where we have ideal conditions uh, of operating. So those two are very significant in our route development. So that's our major announcement, that this project will be implemented a lot faster. So we are looking now towards a August, September, latest October launch date, uh, because the ships would be here, okay, very soon. Okay, so that's what we have to share with you, and I hand over to our Vice President of Communication, Jennifer Highlands.
Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. We have Dr. Patrick Anton. He is the CEO and Technical Director for the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, and he will speak to the role of the CPSO in working with Connect Caribbean with respect to the mandate of CARICOM Private Sector Organization to facilitate ferry service in the Caribbean for integration of the transportation and trade, and certainly cultural connectivity across the Caribbean. So if we can cue Dr. Patrick Anton, the CPSO CEO and Technical Director, and for his engagement, you have the floor, Dr. Anton. Dr. Antoine, if you can, just for a moment, we have to make sure that your sound is here in the auditorium as well. So I'll cue you, yes. And we have to, I must just make sure that you're unmuted, but we're also waiting for your.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead, sir.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here with Connect Caribe and to recognize, of course, your membership in the CARICOM private sector organization. The CPSO, as the press would know on the update with you this morning, was created by a decision of heads of government in 2020. And more recently, having received a number of mandates, including the mandate to support the private sector and the community, the CARICOM community, in achieving 25% reduction in food imports by 2025. There are a number of other mandates that the heads have requested the CPSO as a private sector organization to collaborate with the region on. And one such, of course, is the one on which we engaged this morning in this press conference, which is to contribute to a private sector solution to address the challenges of maritime transportation. And at the time, the focus was on the Southern Caribbean, which we've defined as all of the countries in the Eastern Caribbean, plus Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname. So we very focused on that. And this morning, the conference that we are participating in with you, with so many of the news media from the community, really focuses wholly on how we've collaborated with our proud member, Connect Caribe, in achieving this mandate. And first of all, we want to say how happy we are that Connect Caribe has really taken this initiative really quite seriously and have themselves pursued and championed this mandate, which they spiritedly also took from the mandate of heads of government. And they have formed a number of very interesting partnerships. They've formed themselves into a consortium. And I think what we're seeing here this morning by way of update is a manifestation of that. And I want to thank them quite early for what we have simply termed their stick-to-itiveness on this initiative. Our role as a CPS already is to provide strategic information, which will help the private sector to take better decisions. And we are particularly focused on trying to ensure that for the opportunities that exist, we provide the best information that will lead to business success. We were particularly drawn to what Connect Caribe has been doing by virtue of the fact that they have from the beginning focused on developing a successful business investment proposal. And this successful proposal, I think, which certainly we're starting to see developments based on, will plug into what has been a felt need in the community in relation to the movement of goods. And in our instance, we've been focused on agricultural goods, but there's a recognition that there are small volume non-agricultural goods that will benefit substantially, and also the movement of persons. And so in collaborating with Connect Caribe and in providing this information, I'm really happy to say that we have formed an even closer partnership with them so that we will not only assist, as we've been doing, with identifying what I've termed in my presentation to heads, the sweet spots, which is really what is the most valuable, viable proposition for us to begin the initiatives on, but how we expand. And so in working with them, our focus is going to continue to be on trying to support the initiatives, whether it is in this instance by Connect Caribe or other initiatives that are offshoots of this whole conundrum of successful transportation in the community. And in that regard, of course, all the relationships that we have at the head table, particularly in relation to the payment solutions and e-commerce, are important integral solutions to a viable business proposition. And we're really happy to be providing the information to be supporting that. Let me say that in addition to this, we've also done this in the spirit of a relationship with the Africa Import Exim Bank, Afri-Exim Bank. And in that collaboration with Afri-Exim Bank, where we have an MOU, we are delighted also to be working, whether in this phase or in another phase, with the Afri-Exim Bank or other finance institutions in helping to support this project. The way that the CPSO information, I think, feeds in becomes particularly important where that is concerned. And I'm happy to say that with the resources that we've put together, the richness of the information that we've been able to support this project on will certainly help as they move to more involved investment phases of the project. And so I just want to thank again Connect Caribe for the steps they've taken so far. We are all working in the spirit of the mandate of the heads of government. We understand that this is a time-sensitive project that we're engaged in, because indeed, as we speak, on this 50th year of the community, we see a downturn in intra-regional trade. And of course, that downturn, we believe, coming out of COVID, there are optimal, very good options for us to leverage if we were able to put the maritime transportation initiatives in its proper perspective in supporting intra-regional trade. So on behalf of the CPSO, we want to thank you again and to thank the press for the opportunity to spread the word. We encourage you to do so, because indeed, in the other announcements to come, based on the collaboration and the leadership and the initiative taken by Connect Caribe, we know that we are now moving in a more concerted direction to achieving the success that our community deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO of CARICOM Private Sector Organization, Dr. Antoine, for your presentation. At this time, I'm going to ask Ambassador Thomas just to add a little bit more to the contribution of Dr. Antoine, after which we would have a corporate video by Jampur Group. And we are hoping that the deputy director or the director will join us. As you can well know, there's a difference in the time zone. So maybe they're getting a little bit cross there in terms of the time zone. However, we will have their presentation, corporate presentation to show, and also the deputy director or the director after this press conference, which we will make available to the press should they not be able to join this Zoom meeting. So we'll make that available to you at the end of the press conference or before the end of the day once they are able to send in their video. So I'm going to hand back over to Ambassador Thomas, and after which we'll show the presentation, the corporate presentation of the Jampur Group. Dr. Thomas?
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer Highland, and thank you so much, Dr. Antoine, for the invaluable support that we are receiving and have received from the CPSO. There's no way the project would be as developed as it has been without your input, your significant input. I also want to add that another multilateral agency that we have been working with, which Dr. Antoine mentioned, is the African Exim Bank. We are actually in significant discussions with them on their payment settlement system. Because if you think about the e-commerce, if we join, and we will be able to join, the nation of Jamaica to all of this, we have a market of over 6 million people. But there's a problem. The problem is we have different currencies. You actually have the Jamaican dollar, you have the Eastern Caribbean dollar, you have the Trinidad dollar, you have the Guyana dollar, and you have the Barbados dollar. So the African Exim Bank has an initiative called PAPS that we are working with and will work with, that we're able to do the settlement. So we are really hopeful that there'll be a speedy implementation for this, of this particular system, and we're working with them on that. I believe it will be game-changing for Caribbean economies, because what it will do, it would allow a woman who is based in Guyana to produce soaps from the Amazon and sell it to a woman in Barbados. And a woman in Barbados can, from her house, can create the most amazing jam that everyone says is wonderful, and becomes a hit on Connect Caribe, and sell 1,000 within a month in the nation of Jamaica. If we can get all of these things done. Now, so what we see the accelerated pace at which we are moving would also aid the implementation of all these, I would say, commerce and trade drivers, for they're very, very important in accelerating trade within the region. The other options that we're looking as well, which we'll mention later, but this gives you a sense of where we are, and we want to definitely thank the African Exim Bank for the actual for our partnership with them. Okay, I hand over to you now.
Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. Okay, at this time, we are going to play a corporate video from Jampur that asks us to play so that you can get familiar with their operations and who they are. So we're going to play that video presentation, after which we're going to get a contribution from Vice President of Ship Operations and Crew Management with respect to the readiness and the infrastructure for successful implementation of operations for Pleon Group and the Connect Caribe. And also, you're familiar with Mr. Anthony Hinkson, the president of the e-commerce division, and he'll speak further to what Dr. Thomas touched on a moment ago. So at this time, we're going to play the presentation of Jampur, and after which we'll come back and introduce Mr. Richard Allen, Vice President of Ship Operations and Crew Management. Thank you. Thank you, team. I just want the media online to advise if you were able to fully see the video. If you can just put that notification in from my knowledge. If not, I will also make that video available to you by email so that you can, if anything that you've missed, you'll be able to capture as well. You were unable to see it fully here in the auditorium, but hopefully you were able to capture the video presentation. And just to reiterate, we'll make it available after the press conference. Thank you very much for your understanding and your patience. At this time, I'm going to have Ambassador Thomas introduce his Vice President of Ship Operations and Crew Management, Mr. Richard Alling, to speak to the readiness and infrastructure and his perspective as former Harbor Master of the Bridgetown Port. So over to you, Ambassador Thomas.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Jennifer, we are delighted to add to the team the former Harbor Master of the Port of Barbados, who we believe uh, will add and has already added significant experience in in the building of the organizational infrastructure, the technical know-how of how to successfully manage this operation, and he's also the lecturer at BIMAC of ship operations and crew manager and crew management. So it's great to have the lecturer on board. So that's very good. So if you could actually give your comments, Richard, it's great to have you on board.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Yes. Okay. Right. Thank you, Ambassador Dr. Thomas. This is an exciting place in time to be as we move to change the very thing that separates us.
Yes.
As we change the very thing that separates us into the highway that will connect us. I'm going to be looking after the vessel operations, and in this regard, we'll be working very closely with Jumper to select the optimum vessels for the routes which we would be playing. And of course, safety, security, and the comfort of our passengers are going to be our highest priority. In addition to that, we are going to be making sure that these vessels which we select will be of a very high standard. So it's not a case where you're going to be having any ships that are, not fit for the purpose or cannot meet the modern specifications and so forth. So that is from the point of view of the shipping. Be assured that you will have the very best shipping available to you. In terms of the ports also, we've been working very closely with the respective ports at which we'll be calling. It is noted that the Port of Bridgetown has already completed some significant renovations and additions to the infrastructure, which will serve us well. And we know that a number of the other islands within the Caribbean have also been working with their port infrastructure as well. And of course, we'll be working in partnership with them. And the good thing about having the Jumper as our partner in the area is that they have a range of vessels. So therefore, for the ports that have roll-on, roll-off facilities, we'll be able to deal with those ports. And the ones that don't, which deal only with lift-on, lift-off, we'll be able to deal with those as well. The other aspect of my area, which is going to be quite significant, I think, for the region, is the whole question of the crew management. Because given that we have the Caribbean Maritime University based in Guyana, and they have been generating some very high quality engineer and deck officers who in some cases have had training with lines as large as Maersk. And one can say that it looks, as long as they are available, it will create some significant employment opportunities within the Caribbean, within Barbados and the Caribbean. Worldwide, there's projected to be a shortage of seafarers, but we believe that we will be able to get the qualified and right personnel for our vessel operations. So, as I say, I just think that it's an exciting time and place in history, and look forward to the success of this operation.
Thank you, Vice President. To my far left is President of the E-commerce Division, which is going to have a very strategic role in the rollout of the first phase with respect to the implementation of the ferry service. So we want to get his perspective of the readiness of the e-commerce and what he's looking forward to and how he can support, for example, the SMEs, the BDOs, and those organizations to getting their members ready to facilitate the e-commerce phase of the Connect Caribbean project. Thank you, Mr. Hinkson.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning to all. This is again an update on the e-commerce section of Connect Caribe. Now, from a technical standpoint, our e-commerce platform will be undergoing our final stress testing over the next few months. As such, as Dr. Thomas spoke about, we will be connecting our payment gateways to the platform. And our major thing is we want to actually bring on board our first cohort of businesses so that as we launch, we will be launching with a full complement of businesses across multiple sectors in the region. So as such, we want to reach out to stakeholders and organizations representing any sector that can benefit from e-commerce. So whether you have a physical product such as agriculture or manufacturing, or you have a digital product such as digital paintings or music, if you have a product that can benefit from e-commerce and want to be on our platform, we are really inviting organizations that represent such groups to connect with us. Our website is Connect Caribe, CONNECTCARIBE.com. On that will be a contact us page, which gives you methodologies by which you can contact us. So again, whether you're a chamber of commerce, a business support organization, a small business association, you represent agricultural or farmers, we invite you to connect with us on our website, connectcaribe.com. We've got a lot planned for the initial cohort that will be revealed over the next few months in regards to, for example, being trained on our platform, how to receive and send funds, how to deal with things such as returns, how to package your goods for e-commerce, and how to look out for packaging your goods for export. Things such as having consignments at our warehouses so that products can be more easily shipped with our cargo division. And we also have such planned activities as how to package your products and more. So again, we are really excited about having you guys onboarded. So if you are in one of these organizations, you can have your board of directors or your heads of organizations, please contact us. If you are a business which is not supported directly by one of these organizations, you too can connect with us at our website. And again, that website is connectcaribe.com. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkson. On that note, I also want to add an initiative that we will be working on very soon, and this is with respect to our festival partners. So if you are the organizer of a regional festival, sporting activity, and such like, we are inviting you to a unique opportunity for such organizations to become a Connect Caribbean Ferry Festival and Events partner. And imagine being able to move your audiences, your potential individuals who are interested in your events and your sporting activities and your festivals. For example, here in Barbados, we have the Crop Over event. And we want to be able to widen the market and share with respect to the cultural aspect of the region that we can learn and benefit and engage with various sporting events and festivals across the Caribbean. So we'll be able to move your party goers, etc., to these events, sporting, golf, what have you. So we do have a form on the website, Connect Caribbean website, and we're inviting you to go there and register. And when we begin the operations for that, then you'll be able to get updates with respect to how you can be a Caribbean, Connect Caribbean Festival and Ferry partner for your event. So I just wanted to mention that, and all of that information is located on the Connect Caribbean website, so you can register and be one of our partners. I want to hand over to Ambassador Thomas, also to finally speak to one of our upcoming initiatives as well. So over to you, Dr. Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. The last initiative that we'll mention is that coming on the 23rd to the 24th of July, in partnership with the CPSO, we'll be hosting a conference, AICA Summit, at the Lloyd's Erskine-Ford Center. And it's going to be called the Connect Caribbean Maritime Logistics and Trade Conference. And we're going to focus on having all the stakeholders there. So example, we'll have like a session that deals with cargo, and all the cargo stakeholders in Barbados, in the region, can tune onto that and find out how they can align their businesses with what's happening with Connect Caribbean. Then we're going to have a section that deals with travel, how we have so many people involved within the travel sector, and that particular division would focus on that. Then we're going to have another section that deals with agriculture. That's the agriculture division, how agriculture produce can flow through Connect Caribbean. And we'll have a section within the conference that deals with agricultural stakeholders. And then we'll have a part of the conference that deals with a major part that deals with e-commerce. And the e-commerce would actually have a training session that would train e-commerce business owners or would-be e-commerce business owners on how to access our system, how to register for it, how to package for it. It's actually going to be a training. And so there's going to be more on this. Now, the event for the actual stakeholders is it's actually not a paid event, but you actually have to register, and more information will be provided. But for the e-commerce section, there's a very small fee. I think it's not going to be more than $25 to just ensure that the right people are on the actually within the room. And so that's very, very important. But we're going to spend a quality time in explaining and helping build the capacity for e-commerce among all levels of business. So small business, medium size, and large would all participate within our e-commerce platform actually for the region. And it's our hope that by the time we implement that, the work that's been done in the payment settlement space would have advanced, because our work has to be in tandem with that. You understand? So there are many things that need to happen in parallel for what we're doing to work. But I believe our presence would accelerate it because now there's a reference point. Now there's a target. Now there actually is a business vehicle that you can see can appreciate the economies within the region if we can solve the payment settlement issues across multiple currencies within the region. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. At this time, we're going to be opening the floor to questions from the press, and at the end, we're going to invite Dr. Patrick Antoine and Ambassador Thomas we invite them to their closing remarks, and then we'll end the conference thereafter. We're going to begin here in the Florida auditorium with the press who are here. Thank you for joining us, CBC. Thank you, Starcom. Thank you, Barbados Today and the Nation News for being here this morning. At first, so that we can facilitate everyone, we're going to invite you to ask, one question, and then you have a follow-up question. And thereafter, if you have any additional questions or would like to have a site interview thereafter for any specific questions that you want to have, for example, you might want to speak to just specifically trade, we will have opportunity to speak to the team here after the close of the press conference. But we'll invite you now to ask your question, and then you have one follow-up question, and then we go online to our regional press. Thank you very much.
Madam Vice President, Trevor Thorpe, CBC News. You spoke about phases. What phase are you at now? And if so, have routes been established? And if you're beginning routes in phases, where are we?
Okay, before you start, just indicate which media house you're from so that we can document and follow if you know. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Thank you. I missed that one, sorry.
Yes, so we have taken a phased approach. So right now, we're in the phase of acquisition of ships. So in the acquisition of ships phase, and also the building of the infrastructure and the route development phase. Okay? Now, the building of the infrastructure is important because, example, for e-commerce, boy, you need that. But so that's the phase that we are in. It's a short phase, but as soon as the phase is finished by July, we now need to move into one of the phases that we move. As part of that phase is the recruitment phase. We're going to have a recruitment fair because across the Caribbean, for this to function, we will be in phases employ about 270 people to start. Because we're going to have offices in different jurisdictions. There's the head office here. It's a large operation. And so that's in answering your question. So the phase we're in right now is the acquisition of ships, the building of the infrastructure internally and externally to be able to execute, and thirdly, we also going to begin our interactions with customs and port authorities across the region. So that's why we have the harbor master, former harbor master has actually joined the team. And so there has to be significant interaction across the region. And that we'll be doing in partnership with the CPSO. Yeah, so that's the phase we are in right now. And after that, we'll move to the next phase, which now includes recruitment, it includes training, it includes, now we're informing the businesses in the region on how to participate in the cargo service, how to participate in the travel service, how to participate in the e-commerce service, and that's that phase. And then when that phase is done, then our focus would be on the customers. Yeah, so those are three distinct phases.
So could I want to find out
Sure.
if the ferry side of it is being phase 3, then the agriculture and other sections of it are being prioritized as against the ferry service in terms of people movement between Barbados and St. Vincent, et cetera, et cetera?
Okay, that's a really excellent question. The answer is no. I mean, what has happened is that we are still working on the same timeline in getting the larger ships, which are more people-oriented. But what has happened with our partnership with Jan Paul, the fact that Jan Paul already have a fleet of ships. You understand that? So because they already have a fleet of ships, Now they don't have cruise ships, but they have a fleet of ships. So from this fleet of ships, we are going to be supplied ships, and that is what has accelerated the process. Okay, so and basically it has made it even more beneficial to the region because it has increased our ability to serve cargo and agriculture much faster than we thought we could. So what has happened? There's been a acceleration and a increase of capacity in the cargo and e-commerce and agricultural divisions because of the partnership with Jampo. Okay, so that's more or less what has happened.
So, Mr. Ambassador, then since you've got the partnership with Jampro, it is just for them to add Barbados to the leg of their bicycle, I would call it.
Yes, well, Barbados is always included because that's our head office.
You know the head office?
Yes, the head office is here in Barbados. So our head office is Barbados, our head port is Barbados, and everything that we do comes from Barbados.
And with the other players, what's the hand-holding like then between Barbados as head office and the other aspects and areas of the Caribbean that it'll be touching?
Yes, well, our head office will be based here. Now, there will be warehouses because in understanding the way the business is actually structured is that we have a main warehouse here. We have our head office here. We have our e-commerce platform here. And we have all of that here. But then in the other territories, you will have warehouse space, you have ticketing offices, and you have cargo. And so those other offices, those other spaces, those other countries would serve those particular roles. Now, as we develop, there's certain countries where we'll have transshipment points. Example, it's clear that to Trinidad would be because of the manufacturing capacity within Trinidad. And so we'll definitely have a significant warehouse space there for all the goods that will come out from Trinidad. But I see in all the different territories it's going to be the same. Based on the level of trade, will determine size of warehouse, size of staff that is required to facilitate what is required. So that's how our business model is built.
Thank you very much.
Can I also?
Yes, if can Richard also share on this? Yes, Richard share and also Anthony. Yes.
Yes, I just want to. Yes, sorry. I just want to clarify that among the vessels which we are currently looking at Jamper with are vessels which will carry. Some of them can carry actually passengers as well as cargo. So we also be doing not the luxury type cruise ship, but at least you'll have that possibility of the passenger movement. The other point that I think I would like to make as well is that this project will have a positive impact on regional food security. In the event, for instance, that you were to have, say, a major event here, then you can very easily, shipping actually becomes one of the easiest way you can move large amounts of relief and food and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Our region is still dogged by hurricanes, so you have that problem to deal with. Although you may have the war in Ukraine and those people and Gaza, you still have hurricane problems with us in the Caribbean, so you have to pay attention to that as well.
Yes, well, we for all our years we've had to live within the hurricane season, and fortunately for us, in terms of like the availability of food and so say Guyana, you don't really get a lot of hurricane development down in that area. And as I said, from a practical operational point of view, the weather information available these days is so advanced, I would say, that one knows then how one has to reposition your vessels and so as not to be too badly affected. Yes, you will have some effect, but they tend to be relatively short term. and you can sort of rebounce from them fairly quickly.
Thank you, Vice President. Mr. Hinkson, you had a contribution, and then we hand over to question. 1 second, sir. Okay, you may go ahead with your question.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, Josue Nelson with The Nation. So you are in the phase now of acquiring ships. What is the number of ships that you project you would need to be able to carry out the operation in the way that you wish? And also, in terms of capacity, how many passengers are you looking to be able to accommodate within these ferries?
Okay. Now, so let me give you the answer in two phases. Okay. But these are very short phases. They're like, in fact, not phases, they're stages. So stage one, stage two, like you're climbing a ladder. Okay, so in stage one, which is where we are right now, we are discussing with the Jampo Group on 10 vessels. 10. The makeup of them is that we cannot give you that now. So looking initially now, would the 10 vessels come at once? Would they come in stages? We'll announce that to you once that's determined. But we're looking initially at 10 vessels, okay, to serve the region in this stage. Then stage two. Now, so within stage one, there could be some small stages, like we get 3 this month, 4 next month, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so there are variables in there, okay? It's not like you're going to the store and getting popcorn. Okay, these are huge vessels that once you get them, they have to go to the dock. They have to be perhaps actually fitted for what we want them to do. So it's not just you just go in to the store and just get one. Okay, there's a significant process involved in this. Okay, so but we're looking initially at 10. Then the next stage then is the acquisition of the larger cruise vessels, which we're working on. That was always set for around about November, the last quarter of the year, or the first quarter of next year. So that is still on the timetable. That has not changed. So right now, we are actively looking for the right vessels. So we have a team that's also dedicated on that. Okay? So that will be stage two. Obviously, we cannot do stage one and stage two together. We have to grow in organizational capacity. Okay, so we need to grow in organizational capacity, in being able to handle all of that. There's a speed that it's not wise to go beyond. But what's important to know is that that's the plan, and the vessels will be acquired. So in terms of the stage two, you're looking at 2 larger vessels that would take between 800 to 1,000 people each. And those will have cabins. Okay, those will have cabins, and they'll be cruise vessels. Okay, and that's what we are actually working on right now as well. So with stage one and stage two, all in our vessel acquisition would be phase one. I hope I didn't complicate it for you. So we have stage one and stage two in phase one. That's phase one. Now, next year, we'll speak about phase two on how many more vessels we acquire then. Okay, good.
10 initially.
10 initially, yes, but not 10 arriving at the same time because, yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador. We have a question.
Yes, Ricardo Roberts from Starcom Network. I'm interested in the sustainability of the project. What is in place to ensure that my 3-year-old daughter today, come 50 years down the road later, will have access to this service? Is there any plan in place to ensure that this project is sustainable?
Of course, yes. Yes, I believe that's why we're working with the CPSO. We are working with the CPSO to ensure that this particular project and venture is absolutely sustainable. We have there are a number of ways we're doing it, and I want Dr. Anton to speak to this as well. Number one, the type of partnerships we've built. We have very strong partnerships that have come together to create this company. That's number one. Number two, we are driven and led by the data and by what's happening within trade within the region. And that's number two. And number three, we are building significant relationships with financial institutions within this region and multilateral organizations to ensure that 50 years from now, this particular business is operating and serving the Caribbean region. We are in this actually for the long run. This is a marathon for us, and that's how this business is actually been set up, and that's the perspective that we have. Absolutely. Yeah.
What I would also want to say is that from an economic perspective, the food import bill for our region is somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 billion. The e-commerce estimated for this year is somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 billion, both in US. So from a perspective of our company being able to tap into what is an existing flow of income, we will be taking that market. We will be developing SMEs and larger enterprises to grow so that they will be known, as Dr. Thomas said, someone in Amazon, someone in Barbados, someone actually having greater economic input into the GDP of our region. So with that in place, we expect that 50 years from now, we're not going to be looking at a $14 billion food import bill. We're going to be looking to connect Belize. We're going to be looking to connect Suriname, Guyana. We're going to be looking to tap into the market of the Dominican Republic. So our capacity to grow is really mind-boggling when we start to think of the capacity of our region to produce and to supply the needs that are within the region.
Thank you. If we can get CARICOM, private sector organization, the CEO's perspective on this question as well, and just give us a couple of seconds delay for Dr. Patrick Anton's contribution. Thank you very much.
So thanks a lot, colleagues. I think I'm certainly sorry I'm not there in the auditorium with you. But let me say that I think we need to answer that question in a number of ways. The first way is that the CPSO is providing this information so as to inform decisions, business decisions now. A lot of that information basically is information that we have up to this moment. So it's historic information, but it's good historic information that takes us further than any information that we've had before, for the reason that we've been able to get that both from confidential trade sources and data mining, but we've also benefited from the fact that the CPSO has amongst the biggest partners in the region, in the community, that actually move goods. And we're working increasingly with very credible data on the movement of persons. Let me say that we need to make the shift though, because what's going to happen in the future, really, because we are engaged in this just frenetic period of innovation and change, we're not able to say if the same business model is going to be relevant 20 years from now. But what I want to say is that I think the needs of the business community, because this region of, sort of island states, and the need for food, that's going to be there. And I heard the colleague ask about his daughter. Well, his daughter is going to have to work, I think, with her peers and with our community in finding relevant solutions to those problems at that time. We have to be very realistic in the community in terms of where we're located. I think we're located at a point now where we've not always made the decisions based on data-driven analysis. And I want to say that's why I'm really happy that Connect Caribe has seen it fit to rely on the information. That gives me a lot of confidence. But as we go forward, we're going to have to use information that comes from artificial intelligence and innovation of new technologies that may take us in directions, for instance, that's a little different. And the only certainty I think that we have is that if we stay faithful to using the best intelligence that we have, we're always going to have the best outcomes coming from that. So I want to answer it that way, because the solution may not be the relationship with Jan Per. It may be that we're talking to a company that basically does, delivery by drones. And I want to be practical, because when you talk about 30 years from now, I've seen solutions in the last year that's now being implemented all over the world that really now, makes me wonder, what is transportation going to look like, in 10 years? So I wanted to say that to place the importance of this initiative in context today, because I think it's really needed today. And to say that with information, wherever the needs go, with the information, if we track it, we're going to be in the best position to go there. It may be Connect Caribe that now has to go in a different direction, and we hope so, which is why I'm happy about the forum that they're having, where you're going to engage the community, including young people who are going to take us in that direction as well. They're going to partner with us in that direction. So I wanted to answer it that way, so that the community and the world doesn't believe us to be saying that this model that we're talking about today is necessarily the same model that's going to exist in 30 years. It may not be. The needs are going to be the same, but if we premise the information, we are able to provide the solutions to whatever needs evolve over that those coming years. And in relation to food, the region has underperformed in its food security initiatives and mandates. And we are in the CPSO working with the private sector, both to fill the gaps. But secondly, we also need to recognize that in many instances, we don't have the proper policies in place to encourage what we want in terms of the outputs that we say that as a community, we're all committed to, and that is food security. I have to tell you openly in this press conference today that there are times in the private sector, we become particularly concerned that, we've seen what happened during COVID with food security and food on the shelves and food availability. But I have to tell you that some of the countries that we work with seem reluctant to change. So you're consuming subsidized food, and we're not talking about subsidies in an esoteric manner. We are monitoring subsidies, and we can tell you how much the subsidies are and where they're coming from. And the countries that are instituting them are not making apologies for the subsidies. But when we have subsidized prices that make it difficult for us to produce and compete, but we have countries that want to hang on to the fact that we're getting it at a low cost now, notwithstanding the fact that when markets get tight, we have none. It gives us cause in the private sector. And if there's one message I want to leave, in addition to everything we're doing with transport, is that we have all the resources we need in CARICOM to make these initiatives work. But if we don't have the proper policies in place, if what we're going to do next with Connect Caribe, and working with the ports and working with customs and working with immigration to facilitate movement, if we don't get that support, then we're going to be talking about the same problem. Perhaps this is where I would agree with you. We're going to be talking about these same problems in 30 years. So we need to put the policies in place. And I wanted to just put a plug for what the port master from Barbados retired said, which is that the next phase is how we engage with all of the assets around the route so that we have the proper trade facilitation mechanisms that we need. So I've answered sort of the question in three ways. And the message to you is that the region has to be deliberate and intentional about us putting the proper policies in place to encourage production and to encourage trade amongst the community. Because if we continue to be wed to a low-cost, low-price policy, we're going to see what happened during COVID happen increasingly over time. That's the message, a joined-up approach. And the word of the day is connectivity. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick Antoine, for your impassioned and instructive contribution. I believe you had another question on the floor, and I want to open to the online media.
Just a quick one, Dr. Thomas. Have you had a chance to look at a fair structure? Because you'll be moving people as well. Any consideration given yet to fairs?
Sure.
Since you're opening between August and September.
Yes, we have. Now conceptually, okay, because strategy normally changes when it hits the battlefield. You with me? So we have not yet engaged fully in discussions with the governments in terms of their taxes and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of variables here. But strategically and conceptually, we are looking at an economy-based price without any taxes or additions of 100 US to begin with. Yes. Well, for journey from point A to point B. So 100 US. Now there could be a variation here, variation there, but you're looking at a ballpark in that particular figure. 100 US slightly above, but in that region. Okay, so that's more or less what we are actually looking at, and we can make variations to suit. If the journey is longer and so on and so forth, but that's the base that we're looking at. Okay, thank you.
Ambassador
Yes.
Thomas, without more, I wanted to just help you here because I think we need to be very, very careful in what we discuss, and I'm certainly with you in terms of your base model. We're not part of your commercial operations, but I just wanted to remind you that this is assuming all else remains equal. If we have no more increases in fuel prices, if we have no movement in port costs and charges, some of the things that we're working on, I just wanted to give you that so that the press is aware of the fact that these models are particularly sensitive to what I said before. If our government decides it's going to increase, for instance, it's landing fees, right? At the level of the port, if port charges move in a particular direction, if we have, for instance, demurrage, on freight, so we're assuming that that's your sweet spot. That's where you would like to land. And if the sun, the moon, and the stars line up, we're sure that's where you will land. But if they don't line up, I don't want the consumer who is listening to your call, although we're not part of your commercial model, to say, you promised me a fare of $100. What's happened?
Thank you.
I just want to say that very quickly to put a really practical spin on this so that you're not held before the lawyers. Hey, Barbados, that's quite a few lawyers.
I know.
I want to keep you honest on this.
Thank you, Dr. Antoine. I thank you for that. Absolutely. And I affirm, corroborate, and validate and verify everything that Dr. Antoine has said.
Thank you very much, Dr. Antoine. It's very good to be able to fully ventilate that one time so we don't have to go back to the press to be able to speak to that. I want to be able to give the online reporters an opportunity to ask a question because we are winding down our press conference. Can you indicate by using the hand icon if you have a question for us here? I just give you a few seconds and while you prep for your questions, but we did have a contribution at the table. Okay, go ahead.
Just to make the point that one of the major benefits, I think, of this operation is going to be connectivity. Right now, even though we have, say, X number of airlines and so operating within the Caribbean, and indeed a couple of ferry systems and so, it is extremely difficult to make same-day connections and interconnections within the region. And I think that's going to be one of the strengths of this organization, this venture, that we would be able to improve the connectivity of amongst the islands.
Okay, and a point that I want to emphasize is that in this first acquisition of ships, we are looking to at least be able to move between 900 to 1,000 people in this first round. So you understand, in terms of the mix of ships that we get. So we're not abandoning moving people. It's just that we, in this first in stage one, we're not stage one is not the larger cruise ships. Okay, yeah. So that's so you understand that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go to the online.
Thank you, Ambassador Thomas. Okay, so we are going to move on to the online media. If I'm not seeing any questions at this point, but you can certainly reach out to me at jhighland@Pleon Group Inc. jhighland@pleongroupinc.com. If you have any follow-up questions, or press@connectcaribbean.com if you have any follow-up questions. I'm not seeing any questions online, so I'm going to ask Ambassador Thomas and CEO of CARICOM Private Sector Organization to make any closing remarks, and we'll bring the press conference to an end unless there are any follow-up questions here on the floor. So,
Okay.
no, over to you, Ambassador.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. We have a unprecedented opportunity in front of us, and but it's an opportunity that is predicated on what's done at the governmental level, what's done at the banking level, and also what's done at the private sector level. Because in terms of the private sector, we are working with the CPSO to provide the service. At the governmental sector, there are regulations, there are port charges, there's so much that needs to be done, customs and immigration. That has to line up with the aspirations of the Caribbean people. And then you also have, in terms of the financial sector, where you are speaking of payment gateways, the actual solutions. So these three areas need to have a level of alignment. And I'm very hopeful, very, very hopeful that the indications are good. And I'm very hopeful that these indications would translate into tangibilities. So that's number one. I also encourage those that operate within the sports and festival phase. We were doing an analysis of all the festivals held in the region. And I realized that we have a major festival for every month. I mean, in fact, you know something, we should get a boat and call it the festival boat. It's just going from, we may have it in the third phase. We just get a boat for festivals. And the boat just goes from one festival to the next festival, to the next festival, to the next festival. And from one sporting event to another sporting event, to another sporting event. I mean, we can just have a boat just for that, you know. And so, but we encourage the planners and organizers of these festivals to get in contact with us, and so that you can become a partner for the 2025 season. That's very, very important. So we know, so we can plan. We have had governments reach out to us on this, and even if at a particular stage your nation is not on the weekly route, we are open to, for a festival, create a route for your festival. Okay, it's our intention and our plan to cover the entire region in stages. However, for a festival, we are open to make changes if it makes commercial sense. And so that's one thing that I actually wanted to share, and so that the festival and sports community within the region would be aware of this. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador. And we have closing remarks from Dr. Patrick Antoine.
I just want to once again, on behalf of the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, that really is a representative body for the regional private sector in CARICOM, to say that we are happy to be associated with the initiative. We are associated from the perspective that the strategic information that we have been providing, and that Connect Caribe have asked us to provide in their own needs in developing their business investment plans, really is what the CPSO was contemplated to be doing, among other things. And among other things, meaning that in addition to this, birthing private sector entities, and also causing private sector entities that exist to connect to the opportunities in the regional integration space and the CSME, is a major part of this. And of course, as a CPSO member, Connect Caribe, really, we are happy to see the initiative being taken. We at CPSO have no commercial interest in the project, but we do have a very strong interest in making sure that all the interventions in the space add value to solving the problems in our community. And of course, from that perspective, we are really happy to be supporting, not just with the analysis we've done so far, but with the analysis that Connect Caribe have asked us to produce to assist them. Really associated with this initiative is something that we think has been missing for some time, in leveraging the best intelligence possible so that we can have business investment plans that meet the standards of the financing community. And that, of course, is going to add to the sustainability. So on behalf of the private sector regionally, I think the solidarity that we bring to this, as it fills a space among the just myriad of other initiatives taking place in CARICOM right now, including the fact that we have liners that have excess capacity. We see this connecting with those existing assets in helping us to solve the challenges of inter-island transportation of both goods and people. And we look forward to working with Connect Caribe and all the other private sector entities that have an interest as we move into phase 2, which is where we look at what are the trade facilitation type arrangements that now need to be leveraged. How do we need to engage them, and to engage with member states on what is required to make projects such as this one absolutely successful and sustainable. And we look forward to working with the press and certainly with all the other partners as we try to engage this together. So thank you very much. And we are engaged with this going forward. We too can be connected through you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick Antoine. Thank you as well to the media for joining us and those joining us online. We'll make this Zoom meeting press conference available to you so that you can take follow-up notes if you so desire. But thank you for joining us. And at this time, we want to thank Ambassador Dr. Thomas, Dr. Patrick Antoine from the CPSO, and Jampur as well as our Vice President for Ship Operations and Crew Management, and our President for E-Commerce for joining us this morning for our press conference to update you on the phase of where we are in the implementation of Connect Caribbean Ferry service. Thank you and good morning. Goodbye.